This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Hi, my name is Igor Kheifets, and this is the List Building Lifestyle, the only podcast which delivers cutting-edge conversion strategies from the online trenches straight to your earbuds. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. I also invite you to grab a free copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. And now, once again, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle.
Welcome back to another edition of List Building Lifestyle with... Hey, Igor, didn't we give you a title? Were you the prince of list building, the king of list building? What was the title that we gave you?
I think it was the big daddy of list building.
All right. Here is a big daddy of list building himself, Mr. Igor Kheifets.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. You know what I love most about recording with you, Jonathan? It's the ego boost that I get.
Yes, I'm sure. Your head gets swollen up and then your wife's got to deal with you later.
Yeah, exactly. You're my weekly ego boost, and I really appreciate you for
it. The list builders like you too, so it all works out. So what do you have in store for us?
Well, you know, it's really hard to define what we're going to be talking about today, so I'll just start with the way I was introduced to the concept. So, as you know, it's really difficult sometimes, or should I say more often than not, it's really difficult to convince somebody to give you money, to convince someone to join your business. And the reason it happens is because we fear what's different and we are drawn to the familiar. So in other words, the prospect will always find it easier to stick to what they believe, and yet, you know, their belief system has to be challenged in order for them to jump over the fence and join your business and change their life. So if somebody's been brought up in a family where they've been kind of groomed and conditioned to believe that a job, a well-paying, job like a CEO is where they want to be in life, and all of a sudden they realize they don't want to be that, they want to change direction, and they're looking into the possibility of running an online business, I mean, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of conflict happening, a lot of internal conflict, internal tension that's going on within. And that's why it's so difficult to get these quote unquote cold prospects to jump over the fence. And even when you do make them jump over the fence, it's often difficult to make them go through the training. It's often difficult to make them do much to change their life, including, by the way, if you are a part of a business that has an ascension model, which means a model where your prospects have to graduate from one offer to the next one, giving you a much higher commission scale, that is also very difficult, with that conflict constantly happening within the prospect's heart and mind. So that is why Dan Kennedy, my all-time favorite guru, and I'm a huge Dan Kennedy fanboy, came up with this concept that he calls tastes like chicken, which means if you are, and more often than not, you are selling a new concept, a concept that the prospect is not familiar with, that can potentially change their life, you will have to present it in a way that, quote unquote, tastes like chicken. So it has to be different, but at the same time, it has to feel like something they already know and believe in order for them to say, oh, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I'd want to do that. That is why, I, for example, stopped completely. I just don't do it anymore. I don't tell people what I really do for a living. When they ask me what I do, I say that, I have a couple of go-to versions. One of them is I fix computers.
Really?
I'm a guy who fixes computers. Yeah, I'm on a computer all day long, so they can understand that.
So you fix them to spit out cash?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Fix ATMs.
Yeah. So one is I fix computers. Two is another cool one that people really don't ask anything else about is I build websites. Right? So there's really nothing. I mean, oh, you build websites? Yeah, I can get that. I can grasp that. I used to tell people that I am an internet marketer, and then it would lead to a bunch of unnecessary questions that just forced me to try and explain to them what the hell that means. And, after doing it for a couple of times, I realized most people can't understand it. Like, they don't understand what exactly internet marketing really means. How exactly do you make money online? As soon as their curiosity has been triggered, they kind of have to know. And I have to basically go to work and explain to them what that means. Now, incidentally, I'm not very good at that for some reason when it comes to the offline world, my parents still do not understand what I do. They just don't. And I just stopped trying to explain it. So I guess my point is that whatever it is that you're presenting, you will have to eventually find a way to explain it. So even a 7-year-old, or should I say, you know what? So even your mother, your 60 or 70 or 80-year-old mother will be able to understand what you're talking about.
That's funny, man. All right, so it happened to me recently where, and I might be getting too personal here, but Cupcake joined my business. She's not going back to work since we have our son here. And she told her mom and dad that she was going to be working with me and she's going to be doing some project management. And her mom's like, working with him? Does he even make any money? What does he even do? I don't even know anything about him. I'm like, bitch, really? Oh, man. So does that not frustrate you?
Oh yeah, I've had the same thing happen with me and my girlfriend at the time, who today is my wife, and she's also the mother of my child. Her mother at the time and her friend, her best friend, that is a real bitch, trust me, told her to just drop me, just leave me, because I was just they didn't understand me. First off, I did not want to go to the army. Right, so I already spoke about the army adventures. I really did not want to go because I realized I would lose the 3 years of my life to something that was not important to me. And that, like, this rebellion stage of my life, a lot of people kind of were against that. And as far as like money, I wasn't making any. And when they asked what I was doing, my wife just said, well, he's an internet marketer. And again, since they couldn't understand it, they felt that she was with a bum loser that has no future, that makes no money, that has no vision, that basically is going nowhere and pretends to work on the internet.
Oh. I get angry thinking about it.
Yeah, it is. But it's funny is that a lot of people I talk to go through similar experiences. And again, it just goes to show you that people are really resistant to change, because change requires, like, physical change in life or lifestyle requires a change in belief system. And asking someone to change a belief is like asking them to cut off their arm, because beliefs are a part of our identity. I realize we're getting super deep, and I don't want to overwhelm or complicate this. But here's what you need to understand. People don't like change, even if they talk about wanting to change. In fact, they prefer for the change to be super gradual and super slow than abrupt and life-changing. So, ever heard the stories, Jonathan, where people won the lottery, like became mega rich overnight, quite literally, and then 2 years later back exactly where they were financially?
Yeah, sometimes even worse off.
Yes, because that feels so much more familiar than being a millionaire or multimillionaire.
Yikes. Feels good to be broke. I don't want to be rich.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive and it sounds weird, but it's true. In fact, I remember reading a news story about this lady who broke back into prison after being released because she said, I just don't feel comfortable outside.
That is freaky.
Yeah, because she spent a lot of time, she spent most of her life in correctional facilities and penitentiaries. So, when she was finally released, she just did not know what to do on the outside. So she broke back into prison. She asked them to keep her there first, of course, and they said, no, come on, you're just being ridiculous. And she broke back in. And of course, that was a felony, so she was put back in prison.
She got exactly what she wanted. Good for her for making it happen.
Yeah, so again, my point is this. You want to sell somebody on the idea of joining a brand new business and changing their life, make sure you present it in a way that tastes like chicken for them. So it's something they can not only understand themselves, but also explain to their loved ones, and so their loved ones don't go and say something like, are you an idiot? Sounds like a scam, or I still don't understand it, but it sounds like a scam. So everybody has to understand it, even people who don't have any understanding of the internet whatsoever, in order for this to fly and check off all the, I guess, of these, all the circles or squares on their list before they can make a buying decision.
Sounds like some work. All right, Igor. So what else you got for us on this?
Well, I really couldn't stress enough the idea, of course, that change is difficult. Change is extremely painful to people. And the counterintuitive part about this whole process is people telling you they want to change. It's
Right.
people who sign up to the gym and say, I really want to lose weight, but then they don't stick to the diet. It's the people who say I want to be a better parent, but they spend more time in front of the TV and not with their kids. It's the people who say I want to advance in my workplace and then do absolutely nothing to advance their skill set to become more valuable to the company. And we see these people all the time and we say, "Oh, they're crazy." But truth is that we're all guilty of that. And almost every single prospect you'll talk to will be like that. In fact, less than 15% of the people you'll ever sign up in your business will be the ones who are just like you, taking action, are being super aggressive. Most people you're going to talk to are going to be complacent and lazy, making up excuses and complaining, saying they want one thing, but then showing a completely different set of beliefs and priorities in life with their behavior. So if you are to sign anyone up, you have to show whatever the action you want them to take is aligned with who they already are.
Now, Igor, some people think that just the fact of signing up or saying they want a difference is enough, but is there a way to actually motivate these people, really motivate them, or is there a way to just spot out the people, that 15% that's going to be really active, and focus your energy on them?
Well, there's a two-sided answer to this question. First off, if we were to able to find the answer to the question how to motivate people, we would solve almost every virtual problem in the world besides perhaps cancer. And even then, we can just motivate people to live a healthy life, right? So I'm sorry, but there's no one specific and great way to motivate people to change. It's a work in progress at all times. However, what you could do in order to spot the people where with whom you really want to spend more time with, people who will follow through, people who will take action, people who will commit themselves, is by putting more barriers in place between yourself and them. And so the ones who overcome all these barriers, the ones who are willing to go through the trouble of getting to the top of your mountain, will probably be the ones that are going to be way more likely. I mean, again, it's not guaranteed, but they're going to be more likely to take action on everything you tell them. And of course, you also want to charge money. In other words, if you're a coach or a consultant, if you actually control the offer that you're selling, because it's not the case if you're promoting a business opportunity where the offers are kind of set in stone, you'll find that if you increase the amount of money you're asking for your services, with it, you'll increase the quality of the people you're signing up. So when forced to pay more money for something, people take that thing more seriously. I remember going from charging $2,500 for coaching to $5,000 without changing a single thing in my deliverables. Immediately, I noticed that the caliber of people joining, went up. And when I say went up, I meant people got on calls, on our weekly calls. People implemented. I actually had more work to review as a result of signing people at a higher price. So just the higher level of commitment alone forced people outside of their comfort zone. And I'm assuming what happened was they were sitting, late at night at the kitchen table saying, "Oh my God, I just paid $5,000 to this Russian, dude in Israel, and I have to make it work. I can't just sit here and let $5,000 go to waste."
No kidding. That's so interesting. So they paid way more money, so they're way more engaged. So is that really your way of telling the list builders to raise their prices?
Yes, and of course, that's my way of telling list builders to, just pay me more money and not make me work harder, and which is, a benefit for them. But no, let's just be serious for a sec. People only value things they have to sacrifice resources to get. So the more they have to sacrifice to get in with you, the more likely they are to take things seriously. And it's a very simple psychology. Not to mention, of course, that you can use deadlines. Deadlines are extremely powerful. I remember when I signed up with you, Jonathan, you were kind of laying down the plan for me, and we were launching, I think it was before the New Year's, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so the deadline I want to launch this by is, what was it, January 14th or something like that. And so we have exactly 6 weeks to put this together. Here's the checklist of everything you got to do. And you gave me this enormous checklist. Like, normal people should not be forced to work that hard. Like, go and give me your avatar and enter, gazillion questions over here and record this thing and that thing. And so anyway, at first I felt scared as hell because there was a lot to do and I had to do it while running my business. But eventually, the idea of a deadline and the fact that I paid you money, and so for as long as I don't give you this stuff, you actually just getting paid for free, forced me to complete this within, I think it was 10 days, right?
Yeah, you were pretty quick though. I actually thought I needed to give you more work because you got it done too quickly.
Well, yeah, I was really driven because, I realized there was a deadline, and not only I had to do the work, you had to take all this work I've done and do your part, right? You had to produce it and put it together, bring the site up and transcribe it. And I mean, you had a lot of work to do as well. So knowing that, I just forced myself outside of my comfort zone and did this thing overtime. I just every single day when I finished with my, day-to-day stuff, I quite literally took an extra 2 hours to do everything else that had to do with the podcast. Simply because A, it was committed financially, B, there was a deadline that you just clearly set for me, because you're like, okay, so show goes live on this date and we gotta make sure everything's ready and your email's written and everything. So again, I'm talking about psychology. I'm talking about tricking the brain into following through. So it's higher level of commitment, and it's deadlines, and it is basically making people jump through hoops. Because let's face it, I had to jump through a few hoops with you as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's that, and you've taught me actually more about the power of deadlines than anything, because I wasn't doing it as strongly as I am now in my phone consultations, but just having that expiring bonus, sign up in the next 24 hours and stuff. Before I started talking to you and doing your show with you, I didn't realize how strong that was. And it's just worth mentioning again that the power of that deadline really motivates people to get off their asses.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you should definitely check out I think it was Sigmund Freud School of Marketing was the episode that we recorded about deadlines, where we explained in detail how deadlines work.
Yeah, that's right. The psychological motivation.
Yes, exactly. So it's like when he discovered how just by putting a deadline before starting to work with a patient would miraculously help the patient, cure their condition before just before the deadline. And patients that never had a deadline kept on going and going and going for years, treating the same condition.
Yeah, good stuff. So, Igor, anything else as we're coming to a close on this edition of List Building Lifestyle?
Nothing else but a recap of everything we've talked about today. People fear the unfamiliar and people cling to the familiar. So not only will they resist the idea of change, actively resist it, meaning they will go, and take action not to change, but they're also going to be super reluctant to change. So that's like two battles you're fighting. Not only eliminating the fear of change, but also getting them to want to change, right? Getting them to realize that the change is congruent with who they are, with their identity, with their belief systems. And that is extremely important. That, without it, nothing really happens. This is a fundamental requirement for influence to happen.
Good stuff. So that is it. That's a wrap for today's show, and we will be back in your earbuds next time. Thank you, List Builders, for tuning in. And as always, Igor, thank you for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you for listening to the List Building Lifestyle. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to never miss an episode. Because who knows, just one conversion tactic we share on the show might double your list and double your business. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. And don't forget to claim your complimentary copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. This is Igor Kheifets, and until next time we talk, have a good one.
This is the podcastfactory.com.